Sick of the same old radio sound?
No, this is not an Indian program. We've got some English people in the studio. Who cares about the music? It's the people who are here that matter. So, welcome to the Anand Steve Show. Anand Steve Show.
We're here on Thursday.
Show.
Here every Thursday. Speaking to you on Spice FM.
Bum 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 bum.
It's Britain's Got Talent. I've got the dog. I'm ready to go next year. £250,000. No problem.
Did you not realize we've been sectioned and let out of St. Nicholas 5 minutes ago? So, Steve, who have you got? Obviously, we've got good old Mick here.
Hello, Mick. Mick the regulars here.
Yes,
and,
yes.
We've got some great guests in. That lady that Mick introduced me to a few weeks ago. She's a super mum, according to the Evening Chronicle. And the reason for that is that 4 years ago,
it was about 4.5 years.
4 years ago,
yeah.
She donated a kidney to her son Ryan, who is also here. So we have Ryan and his mum Gillian Childs.
Yep.
Ryan Dobinson, is it?
Ryan Dobinson.
Ryan Dobinson.
Yep.
So,
Ryan's
are you
now.
telling me this guy has got a new kidney?
Yes.
He looks quite okay.
Well, that's it.
He doesn't look sickly and pale and got a tube
Is
up
that
his...
what you're supposed to do?
Yes, I thought so. I'm a doctor, I don't know these things. Okay.
Well, I wasn't sure. I've seen
When you said super mom, I thought she had clomiphene and had 32 children or something.
Well, we don't know. I mean,
That's what I thought, Honestly.
She's actually going to be up for the next 32 weeks bringing all the others.
No, good. It's good. And I'm glad you brought the topic of actually donation.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you mentioned it because people don't donate enough.
I've donated my brain.
No one will have it. No one will have it. Did you see in Spitting Image when was it Maggie Thatcher? No, it was who was the guy, the American president, Ronald Reagan used to take his brain out and leave it at the door. That's anyway. So go on, tell us about your guest.
And,
Speak to
in
them.
relation to that, the other angle on is that Ryan is a top athlete in the transplant games going to take place. The UK will run games out at the end of July.
Yeah.
Ryan's in the England team.
England team.
See, nothing stops you, does it?
No.
This is the whole point, This is the whole point of this show, that we don't have to be limited by our religion, our medical condition. I mean, I'll play sometimes. Saqib Javed, he sent me 32 minutes of video and 10 minutes of audio in Urdu and English. And I've turned it into a 9-minute thing, which I'll play sometime. Imagine in a country like Pakistan or India, to be disabled, it's a real curse.
Yeah, it will be.
It's difficult enough here. I mean, you crib about they're not having signs. Go to Pakistan or India and see how you're treated. You were bad in your last life. That is why you're disabled. That's what Jerry, who said that? Footballer, manager, who was kicked out very quickly. Hoddle, yes. So that attitude is still there, really.
Yes.
And you should be grateful that you got only bad legs, but your eyes are all right. Kind of grateful. So I love this guy Saqib. So we'll talk more about him. So Gill,
that's the one just final thing, just to set the scene. So that's the UK games, and then later in September, Ryan's already been picked by the team to go to the World Transplant Games in Argentina, but needs to have a few quid raised to help him.
So
sponsorship.
Let's raise some money then.
So that's the plan. We're going to help them to do that today and ongoing. And we'll obviously follow your success.
So 273-988 extension 1 or spicefm.co.uk. Please donate some money for Ryan, who has had a transplant from his own mother, and is not only just an athlete, he's a world athlete. So please, and it's for our region. It's from here. He's from here, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not from South Shields or something.
He's
a right local.
We always filter out the South Shields people first.
Or Sunderland or Morpeth or Durham even.
It's a proper joke.
We won't talk about Durham today, will we?
Don't talk about Durham. Durham is off limits.
Okay.
So yes, now that's me. Shut up, Gillian.
Gillian, tell us about yourself. Gillian, you tell us.
I'm Ryan's mum.
But before that, you were Ryan's mum. I mean, where were you born? Tell us about your life a little bit.
My life. I was born originally in Dundee, so I'm Scottish. So that's
we'll forgive you.
Yeah.
No. Northumberland and Scotland are going to join up very soon, and Newcastle will be the capital. Have you seen that on Facebook?
Oh, yes.
Well, we want to kind of like inter.
We are similar, We are poor, we are hardworking, and the South hates us.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, pretty much the same.
That's true in India as well,
So I was born in Dundee, and we moved down here with my family when I was 5. So technically, I shouldn't really have a Scottish accent. I should be broad Geordie.
There's elements of it coming out as you talk about it. Yeah,
a little bit.
Where I?
Yes, it's hiding there. So so my dad worked for Timex, the clock people, Ticka Timex, and they relocated him down to Washington, and then that's where we've been all. So I've got a brother and a sister.
Washington D.C.
Yeah.
No,
TW.
County Durham.
County Durham, CD.
T&W,
Is it not TW? TW, or is it Durham?
Okay.
T&W.
Our local Washington, which is a canny place, like.
Yes.
Okay, and
George came from there.
so where did you go to school, like?
I went to school in Ponteland, so that's...
Posh one.
Yeah.
Oh, but you have a very ordinary accent, like. She doesn't talk like a Ponteland wala, does she?
No.
Did you see?
I'm grounded.
Did you see the series I Dreamt I Dwelt in Darrus Hall?
No, it doesn't.
My ex-wife told me there was such a series where everyone had a poodle and everyone had a very long drive to the house.
Yeah.
It took minutes to reach your house, past your gate and so on.
It's very overinflated, I have to say. It's to me, it's just well.
I like Stocksfield more,
Yeah.
It's more homely and old worldly, and but when these estates are created, they lose something, don't they?
Yeah.
The lines are straight. It's boring, isn't it? Like Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you enjoyed that school. What was your favorite subject? What did you love?
I actually quite like sport. I was a sporty person.
So he's a chip of the old.
Yeah, I like.
What's the female for block?
A blockhead.
Okay, chip of the old blockhead.
Blockhead, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
So but we live in quite the quiet little part, what's called the village in Ponteland. So we're tucked away like round in the corner a bit. So it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
No, we just are jealous. That's why we say these negative things, isn't it? We who live in the lowest common denominator.
I live in Kingston Park.
That's not upmarket.
Posh bit.
Well, compared to Ponteland, that's where all the worker bees go from to clean their houses and all. Okay, all right. So you were born there, and what did you, job-wise, what did you do?
Oh, I've done lots of different jobs.
Tell us, how are you?
I started off as an office junior in a local wine merchants company. I don't know if you remember, it was called Lewis Vintners.
Winters, yes.
Yeah, it had some branches actually on the north.
I know the name.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that was when I was 17.
It's winters, but it's nothing to do with summers. It's people who sell wine, isn't it?
Yeah,
for
wine.
the hoi polloi who don't understand these words,
Yeah, it's
I've only
a
spoken
wine
English for 64 years, So I like it actually.
It's a wine merchant.
Wine merchant,
so
yeah.
I started working there, and then I went to work for the co-op, good old co-op. And then from then to the garage group, because at that time the co-op also owned Priory garages. So I worked for the Priory group as well, and then I went off maternity leave, had my oldest son Andrew.
How many children do you have?
I've got two boys.
2 boys.
Yeah, Andrew's the oldest one at 24 and Ryan's the youngest one at 19. So after I had Andrew, I went back to work, and I worked for the children's charity Bernardo's.
Wow.
And I've been there ever since.
All good things we love.
Yeah, 23 years I've worked for Bernardo's.
So where were you stationed actually? Where's the building?
I started work originally down North Kenton. There was a family centre in North Kenton. And
near the shopping centre?
Yes, at the bottom of Hillwood Avenue. And
I used to be a GP in Elmfield Road. I tell you, very posh practice. 18 Elmfield Road was my practice.
Right.
And one day I got really sick of, not the people. I still love my patients or people I got to know.
Yeah.
I still interact with them. I live in the same area.
Yeah.
I still live on top of my own shop,
Do you?
Yeah, like any other Pakistani corner shop. I live on my premises. And only 4 people knocked my door, There's a lot of myths about GPs. If you're nice to people in the day.
Yeah.
Only 4 people rang my bell in 30 years. Honestly. And my 2130970 was my home telephone number.
Right.
And it was on the gate post. How much up your nose can you be?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a music institution called Gurukul.
Right.
And nobody rang me,
Yeah.
I should feel quite bad, Nobody needs me, thank God for that. But what I'm pointing out is people have a lot of myths. If you are nice to your patients, people are nice to you.
People are nice to yeah. And it was a lovely centre. It was a lovely family centre. We worked very hard with the young, like babies, toddlers, right up to fathers groups and youth and community. And
in the years you worked, did people's attitudes change that you noticed? I'm not saying Bernardo's changed the attitude, but you said fathers. At one time, fathers and children just didn't fit.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So it was quite groundbreaking in that time, like doing parenting programs.
For males?
For males, yeah, making males involved with bringing up their children and being involved
and against the poor Geordie culture of miners and proper men kind of Welsh miners culture.
Yeah, very
that
much
you were
so.
groundbreaking, weren't you?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and then obviously into like the teenage pregnancies, which is something that you work hard with young people to try and
who themselves are children.
Yeah,
and they're having
they
children at the
they
same
are.
time.
Yes, very much so. Very young teenage mums. And then from then I progressed.
Did that make you a better mother?
I think it did.
When you
yes.
saw others in such distress, it made you question your own self, isn't it?
Yes, oh definitely. Whatever I've learned through working for Barnardo's, I've applied into bringing up my own boys, and the life that I lead as well. So I've very much implemented that into it as well. They might argue against that.
But that's their prerogative. But I mean, wherever you work, you pick up ideas subconsciously, even if you consciously don't say, I'm going to apply this code of ethics, stick it on your fridge and do it. Did she do that, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just things like conflicts,
conflict resolution. Yeah,
exactly, and dealing with it a different way. I'd like to think that that the house was calmer and there wasn't any sort of like real antagonistic going on, and it's just trying.
Often there are games going on in families, I'm my daddy's girl, I'm mummy's boy, and all that kind of thing. He's the older, he gets all the new clothes, I'm the younger, I get all the crap. Is that true?
Basically.
I have to say.
But in a lot of people, even at old age, my first I was with Dr. Kopler, who was Jewish, so a lot of Jewish patients. I went to a house in Jesmond, and there were two ladies, 94 and 93. So when I went in, the younger one started speaking. The other one said, "Keep quiet, I'm older." Can you imagine that? Both were spinsters, of course. So they remained like two babies right up to the age of 94. And just to finish the story, which has nothing to do with this, but I'll tell you, they gave me a cup of tea, which was filthy, but I drank it just for love. And as I went out, my Motorola mobile phone, whose picture you've seen, rang. So I had to stand outside, and they were shouting something to each other. So I stayed back and listened. The older one says, "He's a darky, but he's nice." And for me, that was a whole badge of honor, wasn't it? That despite her attitude, her racist attitude, she loved me. Anyway, carry on with so you learnt a lot in your job, which you actually used in your personal life.
Definitely.
Which I think is a very powerful statement,
Definitely.
Because often pediatricians are not necessarily good fathers, and psychiatrists are not necessarily very balanced. And gynecologists keep having babies after babies. We often keep the two worlds apart. So you're saying something very, very important. That why not?
Yeah, definitely. And being able to access that information as well, and having that access to training and things like that made a huge difference. Huge difference.
So in this country, there's a huge amount of training which people don't access, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
There's masses. I mean, when you were kids, your grandfather would go to night classes and do this and do that. And the government is, whichever government, I don't care which one, they throw out a lot of adult education. I don't think we use it enough.
No.
Isn't it? There is a huge amount in Kenton College, this college, that college, for coppers, for nothing.
Access it,
we don't enough learn about it.
No, you should access it, yeah.
Okay, and then after Barnardo's, what did you do?
I went into adult teaching, actually.
Where?
At Palmersville Training, that's where I'm based at now. So
where Palmersville isn't Palmersville, is it? Forest Hall.
Forest Hall, Palmersville, that's right. So that's where the project is. So I've worked there for 8 years. So I started off being an assessor trainer for young people, for 16 to 23-year-olds. That's the age group that we work with. And part of my role was to obviously get them out to employment and get them through their training, their NVQ qualification, and hopefully get them into employment.
I teach on the course upstairs. I've been teaching medical students all my life.
All right.
But to get on the course, I had to go and do what's it called? Petals
and kettles.
Petals, Dettles, kettles.
Yeah, that's the ones, yeah.
I think of rose flower, put some Dettol in it and put in a kettle and boil it, I had to do that. I really enjoy it,
Yeah.
If it's a small group and you get to know each one individually.
Definitely.
Because you can say to people, I'll give you an example. One fellow, one lady yesterday says, my country is Bangladesh. I said, excuse me? You were born here. And I did the same with a fellow who was Polish. He said, in my country. I said, this is your country. If you don't change that attitude, you'll never get a job. I just mimicked him to him, really upset him. And he got tears in his eyes. He says, you're right. He's been 12 years in this country as a chef, a Polish guy.
Yeah.
And he's still talking about Poland as his country. I said, if it's that beautiful, just go back.
Yeah.
Why are you staying here?
Why are you here? Yeah, exactly.
So, I ask those in a personal level. And people begin to understand that somebody has to shake them by the collar and say, excuse me, you're in Britain. There's nothing wrong with it. And if it's that bad, why the hell are you here?
There's huge opportunities for you.
Yeah, and there's massive opportunities in Britain. Massive. Okay. So, then what are you doing now? Where have you reached?
Now I got a different job, again still with Palmersville, but I'm now the employer engagement officer, so my responsibility is to...
For the same company?
Yes. Palmersville training. So
Okay.
my responsibility is to go out to employers, talk to employers who will take on young people, specifically for apprenticeships and work.
You know, you should join the Asian Business Connections.
Yeah.
Because we have a curry party where you will meet employers.
Right. Yeah.
So
I've got a couple on the West Road. Imran, who owns Octopus
Yes,
Property.
yes.
He's had a couple of apprentices off us.
Very nice.
So at the moment, I'm trying to recruit a replacement for his apprentice.
Fantastic.
So yeah, and he puts up a lot of contacts my way as well.
Yes, but that's how it's a personal contact that develops the project, isn't
Exactly,
it? Not
yeah.
paper and not Facebook.
No, exactly,
They're fine,
yeah.
but actually one-to-one contact.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we work very hard with young people to make sure that they achieve. Some of the young people that we work with have got quite social needs. The ones in
Well, what are the common
Side.
things as an employer that you would find difficult in a young person? Say bloke, what would be the issues that you're concerned about?
I think a lot of them aren't sure actually what they want to do either, so they fall into an apprenticeship maybe because they think that's what they want to do. There's a lack of information that's available from schools as well. So obviously there's no longer like your old careers connections that are no longer associated with schools.
That's got to come back, I think.
It has to come back, yeah.
Getting the businesses into schools. I mean, there's a bigger opportunity now than ever to get businesses wanting to go in.
Yeah.
I mean, we run our own business, Mick and I, and we would love to go into schools and talk to them about what we do and talk to them about what other people do. And
it's very vibrant across North Tyneside.
Yeah.
They've got a good scheme going that's really pushing businesses and inviting businesses into schools.
And I think the fact that there are so many smaller businesses, I mean, go back to my time at school, you really had the big companies.
Yeah.
That was it. You could, but it was a different sort of thing. Now there's an opportunity to get into working alongside almost a one-man band in some cases.
But it's getting the message across to sort of like a 7-8-year-olds. All right, then they don't know what they want to do at 7 or 8, but it's just making them understand they need a job.
Yeah.
So it's making them think about what is a job and what does it.
It's starting them off early.
Yes.
Starting them off really at the age of about 13
Mm-hmm.
at sort of secondary school. And
Before the attitude has set in.
Yes, and trying to get them to start to think about what they enjoy, what they want to do with their lives, and then what talents and what skills they've got now, and what they actually need, and how they're going to work from here to there through their school life to come out at the other end with something. I spent all day Tuesday at St James's Park with the Esh group,
All right, yeah.
interviewing, and me and someone else interviewed 21 pupils from various schools between the ages of 14 and 16.
Right.
And out of the 21 that we interviewed, we said that we would put 4 on to a further interview, and the other 17 would just go in the bin.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a clue.
No. It's quite worrying. We did interviews yesterday for, again, same sort of thing, for an apprenticeship position. It was actually with the North Tyneside Council. And the interviews went very well, but we had a good uptake. But even then, the young people didn't know how to conduct themselves.
Yes.
And
what are the common mistakes? I mean, I'll tell you the ones I see. If they've got tattoos on the forearms, please wear a full sleeve shirt, even if you're going to McDonald's. You don't have to show off your tattoos. If the things that you pierced your tongue and ears and nose and everywhere with, if you can take them out, on the interview day, take them out.
Yeah.
If you've got a baseball cap, do not wear it, especially the wrong way around.
Yeah.
If you've got a tracksuit, don't wear it and put the hood on. I mean, and when you walk in, smile.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know you're nervous.
The doc and I did a short talk
at Excelsior
last year, and it was 17-year-olds, wasn't it?
Yes.
17, 18, who were going to go. Some of them were going to go on to university, and they had their ideas. You could see which ones. You could almost pick them out of the audience, and they split them away. And the rest of them stayed around, and we gave them a little talk for 10, 15 minutes. And some of them, like this, and the girl, you spoke to the girl in the front. But there was one lad who had a suit on at school, and
he stuck out like a
stood out.
Yes, the tall poppy. He had a tie on and everything.
Yes.
You know.
And when they all left at the end, it was quite. I was sitting down the front, and it was quite strange that nobody could eyeball accept him, and he acknowledged.
See, he had the
that
sparkle in his eye. Like, I'm looking at you, but I know Ryan's looking at me directly.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like eye contact.
Yeah, no, they don't.
No.
And it's almost like there's something wrong with them. I mean, there isn't, you know.
No.
But I don't know whether it's been instilled, but most of their contact with adults, and it probably is the teachers that most of the time, even if they've got parents, a lot of them are from broken families in certain ways, but a lot of that time they're probably spent in the bedroom on Xbox or out with mates or whatever. Yeah. So most of their contact with adults is the school teachers.
So the school teachers are almost repairing the damage from the parents.
Yes, but also that is the perception of what an adult is, and not what is really out in the world that they're going to live in for the rest of their lives from 16, 18.
But Excelsior is different. It's very pastoral, caring kind of school. Most schools, the numbers are so huge, and the teachers are not allowed to do this. You can't say that. You can't reprimand them. You can't this, and then their parents who come and fight with teachers. Me coming from India, the teacher for me is a junior god.
Yeah.
There's a phrase, Guru Gobind dono khade kaake lagu pai balihari guru aapne jin govind diya pata. That's a phrase about 500 years old, which means if God and your teacher are standing, go to your teacher, touch his feet, because he or she will take you to God. Wow. That's how much we revere teachers, because all it is about knowledge, Yeah. If your brain is given, it's not given for, I know Stephen's willing to donate his brain at some time. But even for Stephen, knowledge is all. Because I think the brain is like a muscle. I've studied this in some depth. The brain grows with knowledge. Yeah. It can take an infinite amount and shrinks with lack of knowledge. So if you are stuck in your religion, your country of origin, your area of origin, North Shields, South Shields, Newcastle, Sunderland, if you stay in that little tribe, you shrink,
But then you flourish as well. You flourish because the more that you take in inside your brain, then
the more it allows you to grow.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And this is why I think, as we were talking earlier on, is the exposure to what real life like at a very early stage.
It's got to be.
We're not asking you to make a decision then, but it's to start to say, well, I understand that type of work, or understand that type of work, but I also, importantly, you understand the subjects that you're doing at school, the relevance they've got. So when you're doing maths and English and hate it, and you think, I enjoyed that journalist job, sounds a good job, if I just had a journalist in, you've got to then focus on the importance of English.
Yes, exactly.
It's not good getting to the end and saying, I hate English.
But the teachers make you, if one teacher is kind to you and sees you're good in geography or environmental study or some non-subject like that, you'll pursue it, because for you that is the passion. I've had so many, being a doctor, and I know so many families where the child, especially in Indian Pakistani families, you're told what to do. You're a bloke, you have to become a solicitor. You're a woman, you become a gynecologist. If you work from your head, it lasts a few years. If you work from your heart, it's forever.
Yeah.
I enjoyed medicine completely. There was never a day I cribbed about any patient, because I thought, God, they've taken so much trouble. They get dressed up, they brush their teeth, they get in the bus, they come all the way, and I only give them 10 minutes.
I do a talk called Passion to Employment.
Passion to employment.
That's
okay.
a good one.
And I talk to the kids and I say, right, find out what you're passionate about and look at your skills. And I've got they get a handout, and they write down their passion, they write down their skills, and they work through it. The interesting thing is, you start with them at week 1, and you get one
answer.
You look at it by the time you've done a few weeks with them, and that page is full, because they start to understand
their own
what
skills.
Their skills are. Now, I did this with one of the schools, and there was 180 pupils at the talk, and you think, how am I going to ever connect? One of the lads that came on Tuesday was from that school, and when I went through his workout book, on the back it had Passion to Employment, and it had his skills, and it had everything there. And when he got up, he says, I just want to say thank you very much. He says, I thoroughly enjoyed your talk. And he says, I do remember you. And he says, I do use what you said. And
so you made him appreciate himself.
Yes. And that's what it's
You
all
put him
about.
in touch with his own spirit.
That's what it's about.
And often we talk about what is lacking in us. What about talking about what's good with us? Isn't it? I mean, I'm very bad at writing. I'm very, very bad. But I'm okay with videos. So that's I've been allowed to develop that skill.
And that's a good way to learn now.
Yeah.
I mean, now, you've got YouTube having a lot of educational stuff on there. It's not just for putting radio programs on or anything like that. But the thing that I often thought in the past is that people think they're doing the homework for the teacher. Because the teacher's giving it and if doing it for them, and
if they cheat and don't get caught out,
so there's a difference between learning and
teaching,
being taught.
Yes.
And that's the important thing, is you've got to realise you're learning there,
Okay, we can't surpass that important statement, so we'll have a break.
1273988. To broadcast your community announcement on Spice FM free of charge, call 01912739888. Select option 3 and record your message. No more messages.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
So we have now our good friend Steve, Wheelchair Steve. I'll say it again and again, though BBC doesn't like saying it. I love saying it. Wheelchair Steve, Wheelchair Steve, Wheelchair Steve. Okay, let's carry on. So carry on asking. Go on.
Okay, right. I think we should probably hear from Ryan about how we got to the position that you got the kidney from your mum.
Yeah.
And how that's moved, how that's affected your life, and how you've taken sport positively, which I think is great, and how we've got to this point where you're going on representing the country and needing a few quid, as we'll talk about in this little bit later on, about how people can help to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan,
Yep.
tell us, how did it all, did you find, what sort of age were you when you first realised you were going to have some issues with your kidneys?
Well, I was born with it. Well, I knew from before I was born I had dysplastic kidneys.
So they could see it on the scan.
Yeah. So they already knew I was going to be born with terrible kidneys. It was just a matter of time of when I needed a kidney transplant. I was fine up until about 14, and then I just deteriorated quite.
In what way? What is the first thing you felt?
Really tired. I had no energy at all.
And did anyone in the family, do you understand that, Mum?
Oh yeah.
That is from that, he's not just being lazy like another 14-year-old, which they all are very lazy.
No,
but this one wasn't lazy for that reason.
And were you ultra protective in those first 14 years, or was it kind of waiting for something to happen?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously doesn't remember his first 5 or 6 years, but that it was horrendous. I mean, he was a tiny baby. He didn't thrive. And prior to him actually, they didn't know whether we would survive after he was born, because all they could see from the scan was that these kidneys hadn't formed. They were a quarter of the size, and obviously didn't know what quality of life that he would have.
So that must have been very painful for you.
Oh, it was horrendous.
Having had an ordinary kid, and then an extraordinary kid. If you didn't have the first one,
I'm a loony, really.
No, you would be, because if you didn't have the first one, where life was easy peasy. Except any other neurotic mother worried about the kid and the father worried about the kid. That was just normal. And then you get this very big challenge.
Ill child.
And you know it from before he's born.
Yes, yeah. So
and that must be very painful.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, it wasn't a nice experience at all.
Can I ask you a very difficult question?
Yeah.
Did you ever consider termination?
No, because it was too late. It was round about, I think it was about the 26, 28 week mark, because...
Oh, I see. It took all that time to find out.
Yeah, that the baby, he stopped thriving, he stopped growing, and then they did a scan and then realised that he had a blockage in his bladder, that the bladder had distended. And from then onwards, they then investigated through the scan and realised that...
So it's so difficult. It's all inside you.
Yeah, it was.
And you can't do anything about it. And doctors can't do anything about it. All they can have is information, which just worries you, but doesn't solve any problem.
No, it doesn't. No.
So it must have been very, very painful for you.
And then obviously not.
I asked a question about termination because I considered terminating my first child with my wife's agreement.
Right.
And that's why I can ask these questions, because I've been through it.
Right. He was too late to fall into that category,
yes.
But again,
are you glad you didn't?
I wouldn't have considered it anyway, to be perfectly honest.
Are you glad, Ryan, for that? The death sentence has passed over. Okay, I'm sorry. But you see, the fun is we can laugh about these things. People become very serious about everything, Being a doctor, I used to chat a lot with people whose family had died. And they would say something funny and laugh after the funeral, that is, So, okay, so that was very difficult. And when he was born, what is the first thing you saw? You've had a child before, a male child. Did he look so different, smaller?
He was tiny, his body was tiny. But
like a Japanese portable radio.
Yeah, but no. But he had this massive head, didn't he? He had this big head and like this little body. His head was huge, like a little... Like
so the head developed just normally?
Yeah, the head was normal, but this little scrawny little body.
It's a bit different now.
Yeah, just slightly.
It looks like.
Just slightly. So he didn't thrive at all, and because of the kidney, that has an effect which I didn't realise at the time on your feeding mechanism. So if you've got something wrong with one of your internal bodies, your organs, your body starts to shut down. So it's
just nature's way of
it's almost,
of killing him off, really.
Yeah, and so trying to get him to feed, he wouldn't feed. He would vomit everywhere. He would just sit with his food in his mouth.
Okay. So how long did that last?
Oh God, till he was about 12.
Now he's eating you out of house and home.
It was bottle fed all that till 12, was it? That's fair enough.
So was the food different that you gave him from the first child's?
Yeah, he had to have things without potassium, no salt.
Oh my God. So you were running a nursing home in your house?
Yeah, pretty much.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it was.
What do you remember, Ryan, of it? If you come closer to the mic and tell us.
I don't really remember anything. I remember certain foods I can't have.
Okay.
It's like bananas.
Which is high in potassium.
Yeah, pizza. Anything with cheese on, really, anything nice.
Cheese,
anything nice is not well.
Chocolate was another one that was
anything.
banned.
And what did you hate that you had to have? Broccoli?
Yeah, like healthy stuff.
No different to anybody else.
Yeah, same sort of argument.
So that creates another tension between the parent and you when you don't understand and they want to do your good and just,
He would have survived quite nicely on bottles even to the rest of his life. So he had the swallowing mechanism that you would have from bottle feed, but he didn't have the chewing, swallowing, and he would just vomit it all up. It was sitting in his mouth.
So when did that get slightly better? Because he got okay teeth now. He just looks like anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him. It doesn't look like a bottle-fed baby at all. Shaped like a Coca-Cola bottle.
It only took him until he understood that he had to eat. So you're talking about.
So his brain kicked in, and he forced his body to listen.
Yeah.
Would that be right, Ryan?
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much.
So you just accept this is what it is, and I'm going to deal with it. A bit like wheelchair Steve saying, "I don't want a wheelchair," but it's a fact of life. He accepted and look where he is.
He has to have it. Yeah, exactly. So he had to learn to eat, because if he didn't learn to eat, then he wouldn't thrive.
Wow.
And then he would need a tube down. And he's had tubes and everything. He's been into hospital for various.
So how did your education suffer from all this? Because you're all the time in the bloody hospital.
Really bad. Yeah.
So have you passed any A-levels or anything?
No.
You got GCSEs. You did all right.
Because if a class is so disturbed, how will you sit? Where would you study?
I don't know. I did a bit of studying in the hospital, but that was like little basic things.
How are you socially? Because you were socially quite isolated, I guess.
I'm socially fine now.
You are. I mean, you're talking to us like anybody else. So you've had to overcome a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
And were you a mainstream school all the way through, or was there any sort of special schools?
No, I was all mainstream.
I kept you back a year. Yeah, that was an awful fight to keep him back a year, because he's an August baby anyway.
Okay.
And
he'd be too premature for the class.
His development was really like a 12 months in arrears. So I went to the school and asked for them.
But because you worked in Barnardo's, you could see all this kind of thing in more ordinary perspective than a very upset mother.
Yes.
So you could be less blindly attached to an idea.
Yeah, but it was very difficult system to break down, because technically he was born 1995, so he should go to school in 2001. That's when he starts school, kind of thing. I didn't want that. I wanted him.
Yeah. What's the hurry? Yeah, sure.
But it doesn't work like that.
No, the systems are so rigid. They don't understand individuals, isn't it?
Awful fighting on your hands.
Really? But because you're so skilled and because you've been in powerful jobs, you could deal with these suited, booted people.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I just went in there
and you lived in Pontyland anyway. You had a posh accent. No, I seriously mean that.
Scottish.
Scottish. I mean, if you were just a little Geordie girl, aged 18 in Benwell, it would have been very difficult for that poor soul.
You wouldn't have known about that. No, you wouldn't have known about that. And what you're saying is entirely right. You wouldn't have known about that. You wouldn't have access to that knowledge to know that it was possible.
So knowledge is power.
Yes, definitely.
And Ryan's mother is a very powerful lady because she's knowledgeable. And though you went through all your pain, you produced a perfectly more than healthy child.
Yes.
Who's going to Argentina?
Yeah,
I've never been to Argentina.
Yeah. No, he's good now. He's good now.
Okay, so you discovered at the age of 12 that you had to eat.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, you have to use your teeth. Did you have any dental problems for non-use of teeth?
Not really, no.
You're very lucky, because teeth are there to be used. If you don't use them, they...
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was,
So what do you eat now?
Everything. Literally everything.
Okay, so lead us up then to the kidney transplant between you two, whoever wants to speak.
Well, you were 12, 13.
Yeah.
And you were starting to kind of go downhill.
Yeah, started to get tired, sleepy, can't do anything, didn't want to go out, stayed in all the time. Appetite started to go slightly. I was like 8 stone, so I was really, really scrawny. And then that's when the doctors give the option of a transplant.
Yeah.
Your own doctors, or were you under a kidney doctor all the time?
Yeah, I was a kidney doctor, proper.
Yeah, at the RBI, the Children's Kidney Unit.
Renal
RBI.
Children's Transplant Unit.
Yeah, fantastic.
Who was a consultant?
Jean Crozier, wasn't it?
Jean's the head nurse, and then you were under 2 consultants, Dr. Lambert, and originally when you first became ill, it was a fantastic guy called Malcolm Coulthard, who then...
I know these names, having been a GP in Gosford, yes.
Yeah, and he went off onto the research.
I mean, when you're in any chronic care, you have to be a very special kind of doctor, you know.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because healing is very slow. It's not like a gynecologist obstetrician. Baby comes, everyone eats chocolate, end of story.
Yeah.
Except occasional stillbirth, otherwise happy.
Yeah.
People who deal with rheumatology, kidney transplant, they have to be very special human beings because they take on a lot of pain.
They do.
And be very persistent and loving and caring, you know.
And they live it as well. They go through it with you.
Yes, they suffer as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. And they can see your pain. And
yes, and they feel it too. They have children too, you know.
Yeah, they did. And having to tell me before he was born that this
yes.
baby...
How do you think that feels to a doctor to tell a mother?
Yeah, he wasn't a doctor. He was just a nice man.
And had they told you at that sort of very early stage that there was every chance that he would need a transplant at some point? So were you geared up for that?
We were geared up for
it.
They pretty much said that at the moment, if you think of your kidneys whilst he's a little boy, that they're going to be fine because they're going to be enough to keep you going. But once you hit into puberty and adolescence,
and the body's growing fast.
That's when it'll hit. So they did say it would be from round about the age of 13, 12, 13.
When the growth spurts happen.
When the growth spurts happen, and that's when you're going to face it.
Were you waiting for that moment?
You wait all your life for it.
You wake up every morning and think, is today the day when things are going to change?
Again, really, you don't know that it's changing until you have your blood tests because it's all in the blood. So you could be, he could be perfectly healthy, and then literally one blood result would push him over the edge.
Had you prepared for transplant in understanding what it was about? Had you gone into, both of you, gone into anything, what you were expecting from it? And
we got quite a lot of information from the doctors, so they told us everything we needed to know, basically. Down to everything,
And was there sort of peer connections anywhere in that? Talking
like
to
group?
Kids
not really, no, there wasn't. There wasn't really, and I didn't research it at all. I didn't want to know.
Yes, there's an element of
denial.
I'll face it when it comes.
Just do it.
We'll cross the bridge when it.
That's what I was researching. Thinking, but had you prepared for an event and were waiting for it to happen, or were you almost in denial? And saying,
I was in denial.
Yeah,
I was in denial. Yeah, I was in denial. All I could think about was just he had to get better through this.
This highlights the point about any medical condition, and I don't like the term disability. In the medical conditions that disable you in certain ways, and you there will be things that you are disabled in, but you don't look disabled. That old magic word. But I'm not disabled as many. We always talk about this. Other than Ryan, normally everybody's sitting in a wheelchair in this room, but Ryan's not today.
No, he's got 4 legs.
He's got 4 legs.
But you don't know.
We're all sitting in wheelchairs, chairs with wheels on, and it's for a purpose. But at this point in time, I'm not disabled. I'm sitting talking to you, and my chair is one that is perceived as making me disabled, but it's not.
It's not.
And that's the and people are wary of getting into that situation and being called disabled, so that there is a denial there. Okay, so we get up to 14, 12.
About 12, 13. That's when they said that's it. He's on that register now.
Yep.
But then they discovered that you had a rare tissue match of 1 in 20,000.
Oh my God! To make life not so easy.
Even more complicated.
Normally, what is it like? I don't know.
It's about 1 in 20.
As good as that.
Yeah.
So he's 1,000 times harder to get a kidney.
Yeah.
God, it never rains, it pours like, doesn't it?
There's 3 main tissue matches that they do. I can't remember their names, but anyway, one of them was 1 in 20,000. He was quite common for other 2, so you got 2 out of 3.
Okay.
And the third one was just
so rare.
Yeah, impossible.
Okay, and then?
Impossible. And that's when they then had to do screening to find what they call living donor. So I'm a living donor.
So normally you'd wait for a motorbike accident or a car accident.
Yeah, but we knew that.
So living donor means somebody who's alive and prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, and prepared, and a match as well.
So then what happened?
To go through that. So they put me through the mill. You have to go through psychological tests. That was a bit funny.
What did they ask you?
Did you have a period of having dialysis and stuff?
I didn't have dialysis. No, I managed to skip that. Yeah.
Right.
But you had plasma exchange.
So you've never had dialysis?
No.
You are, in some ways you are lucky.
Yeah.
Because that really ties you to a hospital or home, and there's bottles upon bottles and trucks coming.
Particularly at the school in time.
Yes. When life is difficult anyway, as a human being.
Yeah. I mean, you're up to the age of 14, really, at that point.
That is a hard time anyway. You're neither an adult nor a baby.
Yeah.
So adolescence is difficult. I used to teach adolescence to medical students. And quickly, my definition was, if you live, mother and father in Whitley Way, and you're a medical student now living here, and your clothes go to mummy for washing, you're an adolescent.
That's quite true. That's quite true.
That's Nasser Bhai just giving me a wave. He must be listening. He's a homeopath. He looks like a taxi driver, but he's also a homeopath. I meet some fascinating people here. Okay, so you knew he was going to have a kidney thing.
Yes,
and
so
you had your psychological test.
Yeah.
But what did they ask you?
Oh, as to whether or not... Well, they've got to establish there's no financial gain, there's no money transaction.
Oh my God! My God! I couldn't. Oh dear! You know, excuse me. This is not India or Bombay or Turkey where people are selling kidneys.
This is where if you had lived.
I
wonder whether there's a.
But how can a son buy the mother's kidney? I mean, come on.
It's all an ethical thing to make sure.
Oh, come on!
Somebody has to tick a box. They'll have box to be ticked.
How ridiculous!
Sure
how can a mother not want her child to live? The child that she's created.
Exactly. So
okay. Come in.
You had to pass various ethical tests.
So you passed the ethical test that you're allowed to donate your kidney to the baby you've produced and had in your womb for 9 months and 10 days.
And I was allowed to do it.
We live in a funny world, like.
Yeah, we do. And to make sure that I was of sound mind.
Well, I'm not so sure, but I mean, even if you're unsound mind, you want to give your kidney to your baby. How can anyone question that? I think it's unethical to ask these questions. I really believe that. You know, for me, when I was saying a Catholic priest comes, right? He's having the insurance, and on the question it says, "Are you gay? Is your partner gay?" How do I ask a priest? I've been to a Catholic school.
Exactly.
How can you ask these questions? That's to just put the paper there where they used to take it off.
Very difficult.
You know, there's no kind of sensitivity. How can a mother not want to? Anyway. So then they found your tissue matched him.
Yeah, the tissue matches, but the blood didn't. We've got an AB blood incompatibility.
Okay.
So he's one group and I'm another group. So again, that would cause a rejection.
Oh my God! And then
he had to go in for a plasma exchange to remove my antibodies of B from his blood.
So where did you go to the blood bank?
Yeah, pretty much. So
where they do plasma.
Plasma exchange, strip it all out, plasma exchange, and bring.
Wash out all the anti-mummy stuff.
Yeah, all the way down to 0. It had to be down as low as they could possibly do. So all his immune system was.
It is really a massive climb you've done, both of you.
Huge.
Amazing.
That was the hardest bit, I think. That was kind of the 8 weeks prior to the operation. So that was like the run up to it all, and that was quite traumatic because I couldn't take time off, if you know what I mean.
From your work?
Yeah, so I was kind of trying to juggle both things and then...
And you succeeded?
Yeah.
Well done. I think...
Yeah, thank you.
I would praise that, I mean, this man couldn't he's dressed for the taxi, but he couldn't keep away because it's such a touching topic, isn't it? Say something. What do you feel?
Of course.
Say something. Come closer to the mic and say something.
I'll let you...
This is Zafar Bhai. He's also a homeopath, so he's very interested in human beings.
Oh, lovely.
There are a lot of people like that around who listen to these programs, It is very heartwarming to hear you too. Then how did the transplant happen? When?
The transplant happened on
29th of November 2010.
That's correct. And
so you're 4.5 years past it.
Yeah.
And you look all read like.
Yeah. Oh, he just flourished.
It's just so now do you feel? Did you ever feel guilty for having a child in your womb that wasn't perfect?
No, never.
How do you feel now that he is perfect? He's perfect than more people. I mean, he's going to bloody Argentina to run for this country,
Perfect. I feel very proud. Of him.
He's done himself
He's done incredibly well. It wasn't easy for him. He's going through puberty. He's changing. His body was changing. His health's deteriorating. He found it very difficult to accept the changes in his body.
But all of us do.
Yeah.
Young girls do, young men do. So without kidney problems, then it must be that much harder for a guy who has got a kidney transplant.
And again, with the job that I do, I'm aware that any young person who's got a chronic illness whether or not it's, cystic fibrosis or diabetes, when they hit 15, 16, 14, 15,
it becomes
16,
that much more difficult.
it's massive because they're different. They've got to do different things in their life. You can't.
The peer group is doing things like staying up all night, getting drunk.
How did the relationship with your friends and schoolmates go in that build-up years? Were they aware of what was happening? Or?
Not really, no. I kept it a secret.
I was wondering.
So how many people in your class knew you had a kidney problem?
Probably like 2 or 3.
Really close friends.
Yeah, like really close
And they didn't
friends.
laugh at you?
No, they didn't laugh.
No, they didn't make funny cartoons?
No.
No. So, a bit like Steve, isn't it? When you were in the wheelchair, your close friends are still your close friends.
Yes, right.
But we still take the make out of them.
Wait,
Oh, you do, yes.
It's still time to shreds. It's
That's the important thing, is that you don't want to be treated any differently.
Yes.
And
Yes. And people pity you and kind of say, the poor
boy,
Yeah.
poor transplant boy, and they're watching for something that makes you different. There is a thing coming out your head, or the T on the top, or something that makes you. Nobody can tell. But inside you're thinking, what would somebody think? And
I think you could tell if it was pointed out, and then you took a close look at him. He was small, dark circles under his eyes, haggard, drawn. So you would know at that point. But to be fair, unless that was pointed out to you, you wouldn't necessarily.
So when the kidney transplant happened, there's no dark shadow under his eyes. He doesn't look shriveled up. His head is not too big for his body. I mean, just like another bloke. He's my height and all. He's a bit small for an English person.
Yeah.
But a bit of tan and he'll pass off for a Delhiite. Is that a kidney transplant? It's amazing. It's just amazing looking at you. Say something.
The main thing what I've heard up till now, it's the relationship between the parents and the child.
Yes.
That is very important.
Yeah.
Which helped him to be where he is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's my story.
Yes.
That
Your mother.
and we'll have International Wheelchair Day, and that is me dedication to my mother, because and on her birthday, because had she not been strong
and supportive like this much support,
exactly like you are during those early years, because I mean, I don't know the detail. That's why I was asking how you were preparing, how you were for what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was going through various surgeries, particularly at a younger age in my case, but an unknown outcome. Because we're going back a few years, and that relationship, absolutely right, is the strength in the whole thing.
And other thing, which I think very, very important, which is lacking people, especially younger people, who don't understand that point, what you've done for him, donating your own kidney,
part of your body,
but on the other hand, you kept him in your womb for 9 months.
That nobody remembers.
Actually, exactly. Actually, you have given him everything, from hairs to toes to skin, heart, kidney.
Like every other mother.
Every mother.
Yeah.
Giving them life twice.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was a question to be asked. Oh, how would you like to give? Why did you give your kidney?
It was never
Is there a financial gain?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
It's
so ridiculous, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, it's people not understanding.
Not understanding.
Yeah. And this is the problem with
that's
everything.
my message out there today. Do appreciate your parents. Yes, the time can be hard during puberty. It's like there's 2 things in puberty. Twice we have to go through change of life. Once when we are teenagers, and second, mostly a side effect point of view, after 40.
And the body changes.
It
doesn't do the thing you want it to.
Hormone change. Yeah.
More clearly for women. But men as well.
The thing is, that's my point, Dr. Anand, which I want to clarify today. Both male and female go through it.
Yes. Women more clearly.
If male, because this endocrine system, where women have 7 hormone glands, men we have 5.
Right.
You're very deficient,
Women have 2 extra hormone producing glands. That's how the women are more, you know,
They live longer.
the more you can see. Whereas us, men, if you look at the history, all the doctors were men. I'm talking about the ancient history, when they wrote the books.
Right.
Now, they wouldn't admit. They would admit one part, whereas teenagers, when 13, 14, 15, yes, the body changes. You got the mustache, you got beard, hair, here, there, and everywhere. Yes, we would, but we wouldn't admit that after 40 change, because we are men.
Yes, I
We
understand that.
actually, we pretend to be that strong.
Strong.
Physically, we may be, but emotionally.
But we might cry at night time, you know, when we are
Quietly.
alone, quietly,
not in front of others.
not in front of others,
Because
because we are men.
big boys don't cry.
Yeah. Whereas women, they are more, you
Open
know,
and free.
Yeah.
Our emotions are high.
So,
Except for the 5 men in this room. 4. No, it's true, isn't it?
so the most important thing with this particular thing, hormone change, is the communication. If we don't communicate,
Yeah.
we'll not get anywhere.
No.
We'll
Just suffer quietly.
We'll suffer inside. And that is very bad.
Well, I was worried about Ryan at that point because after his transplant, he had that much high dose of steroids, actually pumping him full of steroids.
To prevent rejection.
His face
ballooned up.
blew up like a balloon, and he thought that if he stopped taking the steroids, then the balloonness would go away.
But then the kidney might go away too.
But then the kidney would go away as well. So we've had
the link.
a little bit
so
of a.
you have to adjust a
You see-
lot to life, but I think it
Huge.
makes you a better person.
Yeah.
To change what you can and have
Yeah.
the wisdom to accept
But
what you
Ryan
can't.
was doing what you were saying. He wasn't speaking about it. The doctors would say, "How are you? Fine." That's all he would get from him. Fine,
That's
fine.
Fine.
But
fine.
if you talk about it, you got the solution, you got the information, and then you understand more.
Yeah.
And the most important other thing is, you've got to, when you're achieving benefit, you've got to sacrifice something. You know,
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
so you've got to
Yeah.
sacrifice something to achieve the benefit.
Yeah, and it has been a huge benefit.
Of
It's been
course.
a big sacrifice, but it's also been a huge benefit.
Also,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see he's looking brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a homeopath talking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We are coming up to a break. Thank you very much for your input. And straight from the roadside. This is what community radio is. Thank you, sir. You made it a community radio. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So that was just to give you a sense of how a person can achieve and conquer his own difficulties, as Steve has, as Ryan has, and it makes us people who don't have obvious difficulties quite humbled. And what are we doing with our lives? I think we function at 5%, 2% of our capacity. People so easily blame their genes. I mean, okay, I can't become 5 foot 8 inch, but I could do a bit more physical exercise or mental exercise or charity work. There is so much to do. So that is why I took it to someone like him. And he has crossed all the barriers of being from another country. In fact, India and Pakistan are always fighting with each other because we are stupid. Crossing all that, is his disability has become his ability. Would you say that is true about Ryan as well? You know, if you were just another guy with just 2 kidneys, who would care? You just be another fellow, took a bit coke here and there, a bit unemployment, a bit boring life. Do you think it has affected your life in a positive way?
Yeah, hugely.
To tell us.
Just everything. I love everything now. Just don't know what to say.
Well, how did you become an athlete with a scrawny body and a big head? No. Which I imagine. I hope you're going to email me some pictures.
It is important that people watch the video.
Yes.
Now those that listen on radio now have got this.
And all girls, please, and I hope these girls all don't start making a proposal to you. I'd be very jealous. I'd look for a scrawny body and a big head. Michelle, like, go on, tell us. How did you get into sports?
Well, like, it was me and my brother. We always used to be dead sporty. Like
He was very
together.
sporty.
Yeah, like we used to play ice hockey.
All right.
Yeah, so me and him.
Where in Whitley Bay?
Yeah, Whitney Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So me and him used to be on the team together and just played.
So he kind of
sports.
dragged you along into it.
Yeah.
But if he weren't there, you might not have been such a sportsman, because
No, I don't think
you didn't
so.
look like a sportsman, all hunky and Baywatchy. No, okay. Because they have tiny heads and big bodies, you know. Okay, you're the exact opposite. Okay, Mr. Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do after ice hockey?
Well, I went to football for a little bit, but then that was too tiring. I just couldn't cope with it. Then by that time, that's when I needed my transplant.
So it was becoming bad for you.
Yeah, it was becoming unhealthy. So I had my transplant, and then I tried to get back into sports, and I did, and that's when I found out that I was good at throwing stuff, balls, stones, javelins, everything. So yeah, so.
But again, it was after having your transplants that you're able then to take part in the transplant games.
Yeah.
So how did you get to know these people who are in transplant games? I mean, transplant games, you don't go and throw kidneys at each other. It's people who got transplants. And another question, when you eat food, do you like eating kidneys?
No, I don't like kidney beans or anything like that.
Ah, because there's an issue with it.
No, I just don't like them.
Okay, all right. So it's not because you had a kidney.
No.
Okay, all right. So transplant games, how did you find out about them?
Well, I remember it was a doctor came up and asked us if I wanted to join. It was about a year after my transplant.
Uh-huh.
I just remember asking, and so we filled the forms in and everything. So
We went to Belfast.
Belfast was the first one.
So do they screen you and see what you're best at? Or you tell them, I'm good at running or whatever?
Well, there's loads of things, and you just basically pick which one you want to do.
So they know you know?
Yeah.
What did you pick?
I think in Belfast it was ball throw, archery, 100-metre sprint, shot put, I think.
So all things which are high intensity and short time?
Yeah.
Not a marathon kind of thing?
No.
Okay.
You know, these sports that would be potentially in the Paralympics, or is that a separate thing completely?
No.
It's along the same sort of lines.
But two separate entities.
Yeah. The emphasis behind it is for people to realise that they can go on and do something after like a major organ transplant.
So it doesn't have to be a wall in front of them. My disability is kidney, my disability wheelchair.
Yeah,
so Paralympics is purely for wheelchair, isn't it?
No. It's for all disabilities.
But he doesn't have a disability, he has a kidney.
Well, this is where, when I come back earlier on to saying about disabilities, it's the medical condition and the degree of, and then you get assessed at certain levels.
Yeah.
So in some ways, in throwing the javelin, other people who have got, I don't know, one arm that throw the javelin, or have other blind throwers of javelin would be in the same.
I wouldn't want to be in the firing line of a blind javelin thrower, like.
I realise what I said. I had it on the television not so long ago, but I think it was like a thing with a rubber end on it. I'm sure there was some blind people just recently.
And the cameraman got hit, did he? It's all right. Okay, so all these organizations are about telling people whatever your difficulties may be, you can actually overcome them and do more than people allegedly with not those difficulties, isn't it?
Well, you start on expectations. People say, "All right, you've got that, therefore you can't do it."
Yeah. And you say, I'll show you.
I'll show you.
Yes, that's the spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in a way, yourself. Well, I have a disability. Have you not noticed? I've got a brown skin.
Notice.
But I went to the poshest practice. I'm the vice president of the Speakers Club. I'm on radio 10 hours live. Nothing stops you except your own weaknesses. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think going to that first transplant game was a massive turning point for him.
How did it feel? Who paid for the fare and everything?
I don't know who paid for it.
Typical teenager. I didn't care. Some bugger paid for it, like. Okay.
Your mother.
Okay.
And what year was that? The first one?
2011.
Yeah.
So only 1 year after the.
It was about 9-10 months.
9-10 months.
Yeah.
The new baby was born.
Yeah.
The transplant runner or javelin thrower. And then what did you do there?
Well, basically we flew across.
You don't have any videos of it?
I've got pictures. I've got videos.
Okay, you have to. I mean, with phones.
Yeah.
Have you got an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay, thank God. I would have otherwise really, because you can capture so much. If you any pictures are welcome, I'll just throw it in.
I'll go through them all
All
and
right,
sort them
okay,
all out. Yeah,
okay.
I've got quite a few.
Yeah.
So that really was his turning point because it was his opportunity to
Shine.
Meet, and to meet the important bit was to meet other young people.
Because Steve asked, did you meet other people in the group,
no,
didn't you?
At that point he was isolated. It was only when the first transplant games that he then met other people in the same situation.
Okay.
And other young people and young children.
How did that feel, Ryan, meeting other people with the same thing? You're not the only one cursed by God to look like a Mowgli wolf's child. How did that feel?
It felt quite good, just knowing that I'm not the only one. That like other people have gone through what I've been through.
Wow. It must have made a big difference to your persona.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, you and your brother click, you and your mother click.
Yeah.
But what about other people your age and so on? Yeah.
Yeah, I click with everyone. Yeah. Doesn't matter who they are.
It made you more
Did you
open.
see a common style of the kind of relationship that you two had? Did you see that, or was there lots of variations? Because you start again to think, all wheelchair users are the same, which is not true, and all kidney transplant kids of 15-year-old are exactly the same. We're not. We're people. We're totally different for lots of reasons.
And it's good because there's a bit of peerness coming out as well. So there were some of the older ones would say to him, for goodness sake, take your medication, look at me. Well, Alex was one of them.
Okay, so they are like peer group, but slightly older, like older brothers.
Yeah.
Who are in the same boat
Yeah.
and say, look, I did this and look what happened to me
Exactly.
and I recovered.
I lost my kidney because I didn't look after it. I didn't take the medication.
Right.
Blah 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 blah.
And you were happy with medication from day one.
Yeah.
You knew
It made such a difference to you that you just wholeheartedly accepted it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you met all these good people. Did you meet any women?
No.
With one kidney?
Yeah.
There's one sitting next to you.
Girlfriend doesn't hear.
Yeah.
No, I didn't meet anyone.
Okay. So how did you realize you were so good that you should compete?
Well, it was actually my granddad said that I should go for some lessons with
Your mother's father?
Yeah, my mum's dad. That I go for some lessons with a little local coach. So I've been doing that for like the past 2 years.
What's his name? Her name?
His name is Hemant Desai.
Hemant Desai. Oh, that's Indian?
Yeah.
What? Ultimately an Indian telling. So why is he a coach for people with kidney transplant? Is he just a coach?
He's from Sport England. So he trains literally everyone.
Or just anyone and everyone.
Anyone.
So your grandfather didn't send you to a coach who does just people with issues.
No.
So he treated you just like an ordinary person.
Just a normal person.
And that felt good as well, didn't it?
It did.
So what did him and have you got his phone number like? I'm only joking. Because he's Indian.
Not doing the job then.
No, he's Indian. We Indians stick together. That is like Peter Sellers would. Okay, and then what did he teach you to do?
Well, he teaches us loads of stretches and training.
Okay, to build your body up.
Get my fitness back.
Wow.
So he's
where is he based and where did he go?
It's in Morpeth. What's his name?
King Edward's.
Yeah, King Edward's.
But tell him we're happy to interview him.
Well.
Yeah,
anyone, your consultant, anyone who's helped you is welcome on this show, this Thursday show.
Yeah.
It'll be good to talk about this in continuity. Okay, and then?
So been doing that for 2 years. So he's helped us a lot. He hasn't asked for a single penny either, so he's doing it for free.
Wow, hats off to him on this side then.
Yeah, fantastic.
So there are good people around still, even if they're Indian.
Yeah.
Okay, does he live in Morpeth like?
I don't know where he lives.
Somewhere
we should celebrate him,
and
someone who's teaching just for love.
Yeah.
There are people like that. There are lots of people like that.
And I shout out so everybody knows his name. What was it?
Hemant Desai.
Hemant Desai. I'll say it in proper Hindi. Hemant is the season before winter, and Desai is a caste name from mainly, I think, Maharashtra.
And had you tipped him off to? Oh, you can't hear.
No, Gujarat. The Prime Minister of India is from the same state as Hemant Desai. Kem cho mota bhai. I'm speaking Gujarati now. Okay, carry on.
Yes, the signal goes in Morpeth. He'd probably not be able to listen. But you can listen online. Anybody ready to...
So what's your routine then? What do you do to keep your body in trim as per your tutor?
Well, basically just go for runs every time I can.
How far do you run when you run?
Oh, not far. It's like round the block.
No, it's more than I do in a year. Honestly, my car does the running. I've also got a wheelchair called my car. Okay. What else do you do to keep your physical challenge about the exercise? Then you talk about what you eat and what you don't eat, and what tablets you take and don't take, etc.
Well, it's like I can't have any kind of protein shakes or anything like that
because the kidney can't handle it.
Yeah, basically.
So are you largely vegetarian then?
No, like I said, I eat everything.
So, but if protein shakes are not on, how do you eat chicken or fish? Because they are protein.
I don't know.
Is it because they are more concentrated?
Yeah.
So the natural protein
natural protein
is okay.
Yeah.
And your body can handle that.
Yeah.
But if you start pushing the unnatural thing man makes, like
then
protein shakes.
So it starts to have effects.
Okay. Banana, etc. Wise do you?
Yeah, I can have bananas and everything.
So really, this kidney has opened a new door for you of food and life.
Yeah, basically.
That shows how important your kidney was to him.
Yeah.
Do you feel anything missing from your lack of kidney? No. Well, no, I mean, physically, you don't feel any different.
I get tired very easily.
Because you have one kidney?
I think so, yeah. I don't know if it's...
But have they done blood tests? Or do you feel you've had a very tiring life with looking after a baby from inside your womb?
I think that the thing that was missing, because I was on my own, it wasn't just my recovery, it was his recovery. So my recovery was a sideline, didn't come into it at all. So really, I think I would have recovered better and quicker if there'd been another active party involved.
So you don't have an active party?
No.
I've been itching to ask you this question. Where's Dad?
Where's that? Dad, unfortunately...
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, he does it, yeah.
So Dad's been out of the scene for some time.
Been out of the scene for
I've really withheld myself for 1.5 hours to not ask you that awkward question.
That's very good, that though.
But there's a time and a place for things. Okay, so Dad has been missing from what age was Ryan?
You were 9 and 10, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that,
in a way, doesn't that make it easier for you? That somebody's not interfering?
Yes.
So at some level, you're the captain of your ship.
Yes, I have to admit that.
And you got two really admiring blokes.
Yeah.
Son number 1, son number 2.
Yeah.
What a lucky lady you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So it does make it easy, but at some level it does make it harder.
Very much so, yeah. Very much so.
Because there's no one to buy the stuff while you're feeding him, to do this while...
Yeah, that's it. And he was due to be discharged from hospital, and I said I couldn't take him home because I couldn't...
Do you think Dad disappeared because of the difficulties in the house? He couldn't cope with it?
I think, to be perfectly
honest... To be honest, to be caring about him...
Yes. Our relationship changed from the point that he was...
Because he took over. I remember when my first son was born, I used to feel left out. My wife was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So I felt like an outsider already.
Yes.
And I love my son.
Yeah.
But I felt like an outsider from that point on. And slowly she let me back into a life, in a psychic life.
Yeah.
Everything else was normal, nothing different. But inside I felt there's another bugger in the room. Sibling rivalry, and that can sometimes grow and destroy the relation you had.
You're right, because you've got a child that's got an illness,
and he needs you much more than an average child.
Yeah, so everything, I guess, everything in the household changed, and it did change. My emphasis was on him.
Of course,
my focus was on him. He didn't eat, he didn't sleep, all the rest.
And a lot of men can't cope with that.
No. So really, the relationship started to break down.
I've seen a lot of Down syndrome parents splitting up at the same way, because the child just needs more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And often the men go and have an affair, not because they're needing a woman, because they have no one to talk to them when they get back home. The mother is being a nurse to the baby.
Yeah. So our relationship parted. It grew apart, and then it came to a point.
But wherever he is, I hope he can hear that Ryan is fine.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. You know.
Okay. So you started training at him better and better and better and better. So what can you do now that you couldn't do 4 years ago, a year after your transplant?
Everything. Eat, run, sleep, drink.
Job-wise?
There's a few jobs that I can't have, like police force, fire service, but any other job I can go for if I want it.
What is your ideal job?
I have no idea.
You might look at that occasionally?
Yeah, I'll probably have a look at it occasionally, but at this point in time I don't know what I want to do.
But you look at different things?
Yeah, I'll look at a big range of things.
So when was the end of school? Did you just the last year?
No,
if you were a year behind, I was just thinking.
He was a year behind, yeah. So you've been out of school for 2 years, 3 years.
3 years.
All right.
But you've been working, you said.
I've got a job.
What do you do?
Work at Sainsbury's. So
we won't tell everyone, otherwise they all come for your autograph. Men and women, I mean, they should. In fact, there's a visitor's book. I'd love you both to write something in it.
Yeah,
It'll be very nice to have.
Sailor's put a lot into disability sport, and that's but we're not sure whether this Paralympic stuff and how the links together, but they're doing a lot of sponsoring. I think they sponsored the Paralympics.
They did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And they've been good to him as well, because they're able to sort of like accommodate your shifts and they've done a few sponsored events as well. Yeah. So
But anytime you want to advertise something, we are three of us at your behest. Anything you're doing, tell us. We'll put it on Facebook. And they are masters at LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yes. Well, once this comes out, I'll do the LinkedIn, I'll do my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter.
I think there's a
because you're sharing something positive.
It's a story. It's a discussion topic about relationships and overcoming the challenges.
Because often we just look at the kidney. It's not just the kidney, as my friend here said, Nasir. It's more about the mother and child. It encapsulates that very powerfully. We look at the Madonna, we look at Krishna. We look at what the Prophet said about, the Muslim Prophet. He said, on earth, the only heaven you have is at the mother's feet. Really? So every religion exemplifies the mother, whether it's Krishna and Yashoda, or Virgin Mary and Jesus. It's all. But then we have Mother's Day once a year. I think every day is Mother's Day, really. Yeah. And I too have a very strong relationship with my mother. My mother, when I was in her tummy, was on radio, by the way. And I haven't stopped, and she's written books when she was 14 years old. In India. And I asked her in an interview like this, I said, Mum, why did you bother to marry? She said, because I couldn't tell her father, that she wanted to be an author, not a wife. Just like in Jane Austen's times.
Right.
So it's the same story. India and England are just slightly out of sync. We all feel the same thing.
So how many, the games, that was the first games 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years. You've done. So how often are they held? Are they every 4 years? No?
Every year.
Every year, all right.
And it's hosted by a different city.
Right.
Every year. So
and it's here for the first time, so you're on home ground. So this is where we're...
Say again, when is it and where is it? That's very important what you're saying.
30th of July till the 2nd of August.
So you'll have to come again just before the show and bump it up.
Yes.
Both of you, and bring more people.
And
in fact, our studio full.
You go down and video a bit, don't
Yes, I will happily go and video it on my 4K camera.
Super camera, let's get it then.
That'd be
with pleasure. I mean, anything like that,
So are you a winner? I mean, is it gold medals around the neck, Joe?
You are?
This is fantastic.
Okay. Then you video it, I'll go and take his autograph, then they'll see me.
And that leads to
a break,
Argentina.
actually. It leads to a break. After the break,
we'll talk about how people can help get you to Argentina.
And we need to raise some money for him today.
That's what we need to do.
Back to our show. So, you were telling about some event that's happening, Mum.
Yes, obviously Ryan's been selected to represent Team Great Britain in the World Transplant Games. So we have to try and raise funds to get him there.
How much do we need total?
He needs about 2,500-3,000.
It's nothing that much. You live in Pontilan. There are people living around you who spend that in a week. I won't name their names here, otherwise they get inflated ego. But seriously, there are very rich people in Pontilan.
I know.
And what is 2.5 grand for such a attractive cause?
And it's something that people don't realise happens.
So how can they donate? I mean, you're having an event, but apart from that, are you doing anything?
We've also got a Just Giving page. So
what is it called? Just Giving?
Just Giving Transplant Sport Ryan Dobinson.
Just Giving.
Yeah, Transplant Sport.
Transplant Sport / Ryan
Dobinson.
Ryan Dobinson. So if you type Just Giving and Ryan Dobinson, it'll still come up.
It'll still come up, yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, so that's one element. You're having some sit-down meal.
Yes, so on Tuesday the 9th of June, we've got Fratelli's restaurant in Pontyland.
This coming Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah. They've put together a lovely 2-course meal for us. And obviously we'll have raffles, tombolas.
Good fun.
Yeah, good fun is there. So we get a little bit of the ticket sales as well. So
how do they buy tickets for that? How much is it?
The tickets are $18.50.
For that you get a 2-course meal and lots of fun. How much are you getting from that $18.50?
We get £4.
Okay.
Back.
Okay, so $14.50 goes to provide for evening, and of course the hotel is blocking that space.
Of course,
it's losing business.
Yes,
so we should understand that people shouldn't just look at their own tummies and their wallets.
Exactly.
It's about a good cause.
Yeah.
It's about a local guy, a local celebrity who's sitting in the studio.
Yes.
Ryan Dobinson. Okay. Well, if you tell them not to charge me, I'll come and film.
Yes.
I can't go all the way, spend my petrol and my camera and everything, and I'll do a whole video, and it'll advertise the hotel as well.
Yeah, that's it, because they've been really good.
But
Ryan went to school with,
and I promise not even to eat.
Yeah.
I just film. So what time is it?
It's 7 o'clock.
So give me that sheet that we anything to announce. I will, and we'll say it at the end as well. So Transplant Sport UK fundraiser night. Fratelli's restaurant. I finally got it right, Tuesday 9th of June, 7 p.m. 2-course specialty meal. Fundraising will go towards our local teenager, what's his name like? Ryan Dobinson, to represent Team Great Britain in the World Transplant Games in Argentina. Now this is where you heard about it first. You can hear it on the BBC ITV later, but this is where it starts. So why not book a table? And it's with Gill Childs. And it's can I announce the phone number? 07939 227 475. If you get to forget this, you can always email anandji@me.com. So anything else you want to ask? We haven't asked any awkward questions, good questions, bad questions.
Well, I think it's we've talked about your work career. Do you see carrying on in sport? I mean, are you looking to be world champion at this and years to come?
I'm hoping to break the record for this for javelin in Argentina. And
wow!
I'm hoping to smash the record.
Wow!
Are you close to it now?
I'm pretty close to it now.
What is the world record for? It's distance, isn't it? Javelin is thrown in a direction.
It's 39 meters.
And you want to go 40?
Yeah, 42, 43.
Oh my God! Not break it, smash the record. Okay. And why don't you bring a javelin to the Fratelli's thing just to show it off?
I don't actually have a javelin.
So what are you practicing?
Like a gun,
So what are you practicing with? Toothpicks?
It's my coach. He has a lot of javelins, so he keeps.
So how do you practice without having your own one?
Because then I don't practice.
You can't throw it in the garden and stuff.
No, not the sort of thing that you can throw.
Because 40 meters is a long distance. It'll go through 3 neighbors' chests, won't it? But don't you have a farmer's field where you can practice? It's not fair to you to have to go all the way to Mopal to Mr. Desai, who's free and his javelins are free.
Yeah.
It's like me getting a microphone only once a year, You need the tools of your trade. How much does a javelin cost?
I'm not sure. They're quite expensive.
Still? £100?
Probably, yeah.
Not that expensive. Come on, let's raise £100 for him.
I think he'd rather 100 quid than that.
No. We will announce this. But if he takes a javelin that he knows and talks to and chats with, it's like your talisman.
I would ask somebody to donate a javelin.
Yes.
Come on, all you rich guys.
Javelin hire must have a javelin in the back. I don't think we've got one in the house, but if anybody's got a javelin, it's sitting there doing nothing.
And imagine you have donated the money that will win in Argentina.
But you've given the javelin that helped to train. Ryan, so that he won in Argentina.
Yes. All we want
javelin now is sitting there waiting until it's 100 years old, and then you take it down to the Crow show and say, this is what they used to throw.
Yes, in the old days.
Before they threw whatever they do at that time. Whereas it could be winning gold medals.
So how often are you practicing? I mean, you're running around the block once a year. What else do you do?
I go swimming. I do swim quite a bit.
How often?
Probably 2 times a week.
Okay. And how many hours?
2-3 hours.
Each time?
Yeah.
That's a massive amount. So that develops your whole body.
Yeah.
And you do the and how often do you see Mr. Desai?
That's once a week. It's for 3 hours on a Tuesday.
3 hours on a Tuesday. So it's quite a long stretch.
Yeah.
And you do only javelin throwing with him or stretchings?
Javelin and long jump.
He's quite a. What do you not do like? Chess, bridge, billiards, snookers, cards.
I don't do everything. Yeah.
How do you spend your time in the day when you're not with Mr. Desai or with a javelin or with water or with running around the block? What else do you do? What are your hobbies?
My hobbies? I don't really have any hobbies.
What? You don't go on space station?
No.
Thank God.
I don't go on Xbox.
There's one normal guy in the world, He's the only one. The others are going zip, zip, zip. I'm talking about 30, 40-year-olds, They go on, what's that Candy Crush rubbish? I've never played one. I shall never play one.
No.
I started the ZX80, and I've never played a computer game in my life. And I'm so proud. How can you do that kind of thing? There's rude things I'd say on radio, but I'll be thrown off. Well, how can you do that?
You get arthritis in your hands eventually, do you not? With all this.
No, but you're just playing with yourself. That's the politest way of putting it. It's so boring. We are humans because we relate to people. It's called Ubuntu. You've seen that on Facebook. You see village children running together.
No.
In Africa, there were 30 children. They were asked who will win the race, and they held each other's hands and ran. It brought tears to my eyes that children have that wisdom. Yeah. There's no need to compete. There's time to cooperate.
That happened at the Paralympics at Atlanta, where they set off on a 100-meter dash, and one of the children fell over, and they all went back, and they all picked him up
and ran with him.
And they all
Do you know why geese fly in V formation? Because the geese, apart from the leader, gets 25% extra mileage from the warm air that's being pelted out by the leader. Right. So that's one part they've learned. And you're reminding me of that. When one geese falls, another goose falls, another goose goes down with it till it dies or it gets better, and then they honk each other like to come on. The honk is not to say you stupid idiot like we do on the roads. They honk because they're encouraging each other. So the geese can teach us much more than humans can,
Oh yeah.
I think the potential is being the role model for a lot of things, and that's where here's the. I don't know whether this is your first moment. Well, it's not your first moment of fame because you've been at least in the Chronicle. But this is obviously more important than the Chronicle.
This is fantastic. Never done anything like this.
So you have this, and then it's what you can do to inspire others because they're already inspiring. Yeah. And that's the. I mean, I get called inspiring, and it's a I'm never comfortable with that term, but apparently it does. And so you've got the opportunity to help others because there are people going through those early times you don't know about this because you didn't tell anybody else. So there are people going through this, and I think it can be a role model to that, both in the how you've overcome it. Forget about the sport. I mean, the sport's an icing on the cake, and it makes it even better to achieve the top. I have a thing called International Wheelchair Day, and I just declare it. So create a day. Create the day of your transplant, or create the day of birth, or whatever. Launch the day, international, whatever you want to call it.
What date is your birthday?
My birthday is 31st
of
August.
So 31st August is your special day.
Right.
When you
could,
just like he's done the wheelchair day.
Mother's Day is 1st of March. Is the
celebrating mother, it's celebrating the inspiration, it's celebrating the person who did not abandon you.
And all I did was to tell on a social media platform at that time, the Facebook and Twitter wasn't to come back 8 years now. Yeah. And today is International Wheelchair Day, and nothing happened. But over the years, things start to happen. So create whatever just to get it out there, and it has its own momentum. Yeah. I don't do things with it. I do a little bit with it. Yes. But it happens around the world, and we're doing stuff with Nepal because Nepal has taken to it for the last 4 years.
When Mick mentioned helping each other. An anthropologist, people who study human beings, proposed a game to the kids in an African tribe, to children. He put a basket full of fruit near a tree and told them that whoever gets there first wins all the fruit, the whole basket. When he gave them a signal to run, they all took each other's hands and ran together. They then sat in a circle enjoying their treats together. When asked, why did you not get the whole basket to each one? They said, we believe in Ubuntu, which means, in that culture, in the Xhosa culture, it means I am because we are. Now, an African child with no A levels, O levels, X levels, Y levels, no Xbox has that wisdom. Wow. This on Facebook. I'll share it to you in a minute. Yes. I'll just share it to you now. So really, this is the whole point of it, isn't it? That when a mother looks after the child, it's the same care that we can learn from our mother to share with other. Even blokes can learn it, isn't it? Yeah. It's all right for blokes to be nice. Is it okay for blokes to be nice?
Well, occasionally I'm nice. It's been known.
But somehow, I don't just blame the men, it's the mothers. I'm talking about India now, who encourage their sons to be misogynist. There was a whole experiment done by NDTV, New Delhi Television. What they did was they take a woman and said, you are going to be nasty to your son and nice to your daughter and nice to your son. An actress, right? Then they put in a girl who's an actor and a boy who's an actor. Then there are lots of hidden cameras, and she goes in and she gets all the nice things, and for the girl, whatever he's leaving, she's passing it to her, obviously being rude and crude. A lot of men and women look and walk away, a lot of get annoyed, but one woman said, what the hell are you doing? What is the matter with you? What's wrong with her? In the end, she got quite angry, really angry with the mother for being nasty to the girl child.
Yeah.
And the woman had to say, excuse me, we're just acting. Otherwise, she would have smacked her. So these experiments are very good. It shows public human behavior. So all this is only reminded because of your mother, who has been such a strong mother. I really think if we start respecting our mothers, we'll never be nasty to another woman, ever. All the rate of rape will go down, all this putting women down, and when you say he's a dog, oh, lovely, sexy, oh, she's a bitch, is down. Oh, he's a wizard on computers, but you can't say your mother is a witch on computers. Somehow the female term is always a bit down-putting in every field, and that is because men wrote all the holy books. Men wrote all the music books. Men are the doctors. Men are the gynecologists. Women's stitching department. Men is in the trade union. Man is a prime minister, apart from Maggie, who we don't like because she's over masculine. Indira Gandhi we don't like because she's so masculine. Shimavo Bhandaranaike, Golda Meir, we don't like these women because we don't like our mothers, really. So any man putting down any woman hates his mother. And I'll throw this as a challenge in your face to everyone who's listening. So please be kind to your wife, your daughter, your sister, and even your mother. And that's what I think it is, So I think you brought up some very powerful topics today. It's not just about the kidney.
No, it's about
humans,
and about feelings and about journeys that people have to travel, and you don't know what sort of journey.
In what way have you not suffered as a mother, as a single parent, that a woman in World War I wouldn't have suffered?
Oh, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
You might have running warm water, you might have running central heating and all that, but the internal dynamics are just as painful. I lost my son about 9 years ago through suicide, a very public suicide at 9:15, and I'm a well-known doctor, and he just jumped off the Tyne Bridge and so on.
Wow.
And two things helped me. One is there were 650 people at his funeral, more than a mayor's funeral, and there were black people, green people, pink people, Jewish people, Arab people, all kinds, because he and I and the sons were all very into all kinds of people. But the Hindu temple priest then, Krishna Kant, said, doctor, there's people come with different parking tickets on the planet. You got a long ticket, he had a short one. That's it. As simple as that. Instead of why did he kill himself, how did he get, all that is just detail, and that helped me. I was also quite touched by the fact that all his friends rallied around, and they kept emailing me, his friends. So that's like a tribe of kids supporting me.
That's nice.
So I found a lot of solace in that. I'm still not over. I'll show you if I have it here. No, it's here. Do you know what helps me? You tell me, for the listeners, what that. Do you know what that is? It's just a nut.
Yeah, it's a nut.
So my son was a bit of a nutter, and this was exactly the spot where he died. And so it's like a little memento.
Yeah.
But humor helps, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I think you have a lot of it. You laugh and joke instead of taking it very seriously, going to the priest, getting blessed for your negative thoughts. All that doesn't help.
No.
It's just on the surface. But deep inside you grow. I think we all grow by meeting Ryan, by meeting you.
Ryan's grown tremendously.
Well, each of you got one kidney, he's got 1.1 kidney, 1.2.
He's got the biggest one as well.
Yes. Excuse me, you can't say this in polite company.
Kidney, that was.
Okay.
Kidney.
Okay.
He got the bigger of the
There was a lady, I'll introduce you to a lady who called Rodney. She says, and I slept with Rodney, I did this with Rodney, and this went on. And then after 5 minutes, she says, Rodney is my kidney. Have you met her? No, she just lives down the road somewhere. It'll be fascinating to introduce people like that who laugh about the kidney as a real human entity.
A lot of people do name them and say that they have like names for them and acknowledge a particular day of the transplant, and it's like almost like a birthday kind of thing.
Well, there's no International Mother-Child Day.
Mother-Child Day.
International Mother-Child Day.
Start one on...
Get it started.
What day did you say was your birthday?
31st of August.
31st August.
The International Solidarity Day on 31st of August. That doesn't.
Oh, that's what you've been checking on.
Yes.
God, he's such a technotrat, this little
but there's
wheelchair
no
fellow.
reason why you cannot have that, because the United Nations don't recognise International Solidarity Day.
Just start a Mother-Child Day.
International Mother-Child Day.
Because I think it's beyond the kidney today what you've done.
Born here. It's a bit like Mo Farah on the...
Yes, local.
The day it was launched on...
Yes.
They always take claim.
No, but Newcastle is a place for ideas. If you go to the Lit and Phil building, Alexander Fleming and all these famous guys would come here. Newcastle, the television was invented here. Baird, Alexander Baird. I mean, somebody else got the Eddie Swan. I mean, Mr. Edison got the thing, but it's Swan who did the electric bulb. So you're quite an inventive place, you know.
Very much so.
They are read like.
I mean, ICI started in Walker.
ICI.
ICI started in Walker. It was in Newcastle and Walker.
Newcastle and Walker, as if Walker is another entity.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Newcastle and Walker. What's the name of it?
Great things are created.
But it was
The origins is here.
yeah, bottom Pottery Bank. That's where it started.
Pottery Bank.
Bottom Pottery Bank in Walker.
Wow.
But it's a good time as well for the launch because it's in between
Alkaline.
your two events.
Castle and
You know, so
Walker,
you
Alkaline Company.
Yeah.
Alkaline Company.
Yes.
Okay.
Just do it on Facebook. You use Facebook and stuff.
Yeah.
Just create it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Create a page or a
Create a
group in there,
page.
and it's away. And then it'll start.
And
going-
start it now, and you can say
this video will go
celebrating.
on in the beginning, so
Yeah.
that tells
Yeah,
people
yeah,
about
yeah,
it, and it, watch it grow.
Because now it's such
Yeah,
a thing to be connecting people of different origin, different races, even different gender. I mean, I didn't realize she was a woman. Just sitting amongst us. No, often I say women are human. Most people don't accept that, you know. A kind of second-class citizen, and you should be hidden away. You should not be learning as much as. And I'm talking about English people. Never mind other cultures. I don't know where this starts, you know. I don't know where this concept starts of putting women down or
No.
away.
No.
I just don't accept it. End of story, you know. Or children. I think children are much wiser. Really, if you look at children, I mean, when they were babies and you put a puppy when he's age 4 months, 3 months, he'll lick the face of a puppy and the puppy lick his face because he doesn't know the difference. Then we say, oh, that's an animal, it's dirty. And then you get a bit older. Then you're thrown from your girls' school into a boys' school. Then you get older and you go south and they say, oh, he's a bloody northerner. Then you go to India, oh, white man, go away. And you know, all these kind of differences we create. Somebody said children love each other until parents teach them not to.
That's very
Correct.
true. Yeah, that's very true.
Isn't it? I mean, in Barnardo's, if you had to work in India as a secondment, you'd have the same maternal feelings, or in China, or in Japan, or in Russia,
Yeah.
the same passion for your child to save its life, really, to do anything.
My friend, like my colleague at work, she had the opportunity to do that last year. She went and volunteered.
She's welcome to come and talk about it.
Yeah, she would.
Ask her to contact Steve.
Yes.
By the way, he's the program producer.
Right. she went across to India and taught village children for
Where?
Somewhere around about Nepal.
God, he's quick, like, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he was. Yeah.
You never got them in your top pocket.
He just throws it. I mean, is
yeah,
your wife never worried, like, I'm a bloke, man. Oh, beautiful.
It has got me in trouble once.
Once only. Okay. Yeah. And what is where did she do it in India?
I can't remember specifically.
But she's welcome to phone Steve or me.
Yeah.
And come to the
She
next
found
show.
it very uplifting and very powerful.
Because you know, when you go to a poorer country, what they don't have in cash, they have in spirituality and emotionality
Her
and
classes
family.
They were stored out. They were queuing round the block kind of thing to come into our classes, and she didn't even
Wow.
have the. She stocked up with the basics of pencils and paper and
Simple things like that.
Simple things like that, and they were clamouring for them. Clamoring.
My wife Anthea then and I were in Kerala, which is the most educated place in the world, I think. Their literacy is 99.5 or something. And they usually speak two languages, a smattering of English and certainly their own Malayalam. And there, the children would, because my wife was white, they said, pencil, pencil. They're not asking for money. They're asking for something to write with.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
amazing how the children have grown up with the concept that knowledge is all, you know, not acquiring wealth, acquiring this.
Yeah.
It's acquiring knowledge. I mean, what separates us from a monkey? The brain, isn't it? Otherwise, we are the naked ape. We don't have hair, we don't have nails, we're just quite stupid, you know. We wear funny clothes. Do you know we die on Monday morning 10 o'clock?
You what?
Monday morning 10 o'clock is the highest male heart attack rate in the human species.
Is it?
Animals don't die by design, humans do. We're quite a stupid race.
Monday at
You know.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, because that's office time. Tell me why I don't like Monday. Animals don't do this. They just die when they die. We choose to die. We zone in. Then the placebo effect and so on.
Wow.
So yeah, allow us to help you in every possible way. We are
Well,
quite.
it's been a fascinating
I've
show.
thoroughly,
and
I've
we've
thoroughly
really
enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
good luck on Tuesday. Hopefully, I'll maybe get there. And
Yeah, that'd be
others
lovely to see
will
you.
be there, and we'll follow you through the months ahead to. The,
Yes.
Yeah,
First
well,
of all, the UK.
How did
games.
you meet them? How did you start
Well,
off?
Mick put.
How did you meet them?
I met Gillian at the NECC Education and Employability.
Northeast Chamber for
Yeah,
Commerce.
Yeah, and when I heard about Ryan, I says, you've got to come on here.
Yes.
So then I
See, anything fascinating like that really
No,
attracts us.
it's a great story for the
Yes.
sort of thing we cover on this show. Because
Yes.
we tend to cover disability-related things, health-related things, and it's very much a health-related thing.
Mm.
But it's overcoming that health-related.
It's not what you have.
You haven't overcome it with tablets.
No.
And stuff. It's not about talking medical things about.
How many tablets do you take per day? Thank you.
Nine.
Only?
Only 9.
No, that's good. I mean, in the sense, for a young lad, that's a huge amount, but it's worth the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you ever feel like stop taking tablets?
No.
So you're well into your...
it's a routine you get into, and you just have, you have to do it. And and you're so much better for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't look at him and say there's anything wrong with him whatsoever.
There isn't.
Except he's my height.
Yes, you could do with growing a little bit. But
it's internal stuff that you cannot always get out, that you don't want to get out, but you don't need to get it out. You live your life to the full, and as we've heard,
and more than full. He's living life more than full.
Absolutely.
He's doing well. He's doing very well.
So you're going to bring videos from Argentina to us?
Oh, definitely.
You're going with him. You said you hadn't been to Argentina. You're going. You had your red things on when we're talking about this, but you're going to video him at in
Argentina.
Gateshead, first of all.
Oh, Gateshead. Argentina next.
And then if it's a couple of grand, you need $2.5 grand. Well, we need $5 so the doc can go with his camera to video you in Argentina.
Yes, if you raise 5,000, I'm happy to come to Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Thank you very much. It's been a fab show. Enjoyed it extremely much. Thank you. See you next Thursday.
Thank you very
and I want all the links of all the people that have helped you all. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pick up ideas subconsciously, even if you consciously don't say, I'm going to apply this code of ethics, stick it on your fridge and do it. Did she do that, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just things like conflicts, conflict
resolution. Yeah,
exactly, and dealing with it a different way. I'd like to think that that the house was calmer and there wasn't any sort of like real antagonistic going on, and it's just trying.
Often there are games going on in families, I'm my daddy's girl, I'm mummy's boy, and all that kind of thing. He's the older, he gets all the new clothes. I'm the younger, I get all the crap. Is that true?
Basically.
I have to say,
but in a lot of people, even at old age, my first I was with Dr. Koplev, who was Jewish, so a lot of Jewish patients. I went to a house in Jesmond, and there were two ladies, 94 and 93. So when I went in, the younger one started speaking. The other one said, "Keep quiet, I'm older." Can you imagine that? Both were spinsters, of course. So they remained like two babies right up to the age of 94. And just to finish the story, which has nothing to do with this, but I'll tell you, they gave me a cup of tea, which was filthy, but I drank it just for love. And as I went out, my Motorola mobile phone, whose picture you've seen, rang. So I had to stand outside, and they were shouting something to each other. So I stayed back and listened. The older one says, "He's a darky, but he's nice." And for me, that was a whole badge of honor, wasn't it? That despite her attitude, her racist attitude, she loved me. Anyway, carry on with so you learnt a lot in your job, which you actually used in your personal life.
Definitely.
Which I think is a very powerful statement,
Definitely.
Because often pediatricians are not necessarily good fathers, and psychiatrists are not necessarily very balanced. And gynecologists keep having babies after babies. We often keep the two worlds apart. So you're saying something very, very important. That why not?
Yeah, definitely. And being able to access that information as well, and having that access to training and things like that made a huge difference. Huge difference.
So in this country, there's a huge amount of training which people don't access, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
There's masses. I mean, when you were kids, your grandfather would go to night classes and do this and do that. And the government whichever government, I don't care which one, they throw out a lot of adult education. I don't think we use it enough.
No.
Isn't it? There is a huge amount in Kenton College, this college, that college, for coppers, for nothing.
Access it,
we don't enough learn about it.
No, you should access it. Yeah.
Okay, and then after Barnardo's, what did you do?
I went into adult teaching, actually.
Where?
Down to Washington. And then that's where we've been all. So I've got a brother and a sister.
Washington D.C.
Yeah.
No,
TW.
County Durham.
Washington Durham.
T&W.
Is it not TW? TW. Or is it Durham?
Okay.
T&W.
Our local Washington, which is a canny place, like.
Yes.
Okay, and
George came from there.
So where did you go to school, like?
I went to school in Pontyland, so that's...
Posh one.
Yeah.
Oh, but still you have a very ordinary accent, like... She doesn't talk like a Pontyland wala, does she?
No.
Did you see...
I'm grounded.
Did you see the series, I Dreamt I Dwelt in Diarist Hall?
No, it doesn't.
My ex-wife told me there was such a series where everyone had a poodle and everyone had a very long drive to the house.
Yeah.
It took minutes to reach your house, past your gate and so on.
It's very overinflated, I have to say. To me, it's just well.
I like Stocksfield more,
Yeah.
It's more homely and old worldly and but when these estates are created, they lose something, don't they?
Yeah.
The lines are straight. It's boring, isn't it? Like Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you enjoyed that school. What was your favorite subject? What did you love?
I actually quite like sport. I was a sporty person.
So he's a chip of the old.
Yeah, I like.
What's the female for block?
A blockhead.
Okay, chip of the old blockhead.
Blockhead, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
But we live in quite the quiet little part, what's called the village in Pontyland. So we're tucked away like round in the corner a bit. So it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
No, we just are jealous. That's why we say these negative things, isn't it? We who live in the lowest common denominator.
I live in Kingston Park.
That's not upmarket.
Posh bit.
Well, compared to Pontyland, that's where all the worker bees go from to clean their houses and all. Okay, all right. So you were born there, and what did you, job-wise, what did you do?
Oh, I've done lots of different jobs.
Tell us, how
I started off as an office junior in a local wine merchants company. I don't know if you remember, it was called Lewis Vintners.
Winters, yes.
Yeah, it had some branches actually on the north.
I remember the name.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that was when I was 17.
It's winters, but it's nothing to do with summers. It's people who sell wine, isn't it?
Yes,
for
wine.
the hoi polloi who don't understand these words,
Yeah, it's
I've only
wine
spoken
merchant.
English for 64 years, So I like it actually.
It's a wine merchant.
Wine merchant,
So
yeah.
I started working there, and then I went to work for the co-op, good old co-op. And then from then to the garage group, because at that time the co-op also owned Priory garages. So I worked for the Priory group as well, and then I went off maternity leave, had my oldest son Andrew.
How many children do you have? Akib Javed, he sent me 32 minutes of video and 10 minutes of audio in Urdu and English, and I've turned it into a 9-minute thing, which I'll play sometime. Imagine in a country like Pakistan or India, to be disabled, it's a real curse.
Yeah, it will be.
It's difficult enough here. I mean, you crib about they're not having signs. Go to Pakistan or India and see how you're treated. You were bad in your last life, that is why you're disabled. That's what Jerry, who said that? Footballer, manager, who was kicked out very quickly. Hoddle, yes. So that attitude is still there, really.
Yes.
And you should be grateful that you got only bad legs, but your eyes are all right. Kind of grateful. So I love this guy Saqib. So we'll talk more about him. So Gill,
that's the one just final thing, just
yeah.
to set the scene. So that's the UK games, and then later in September, Ryan's already been picked by the team to go to the World Transplant Games in Argentina, but needs to have a few quid raised to help him.
So
sponsorship.
Let's raise some money then.
So that's the plan. We're going to help them to do that today and ongoing. And
Yes.
we'll obviously follow your
So
success.
273988 extension 1 or spicefm.co.uk. Please donate some money for Ryan, who has had a transplant from his own mother, and is not only just an athlete, he's a world athlete. So please, and it's for our region. It's from here. He's from here, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not from South Shields or something.
No,
He's a right local.
We always filter out the South Shields people first.
Or Sunderland or Morpeth.
No, it's
Or Durham even.
a proper joke.
We won't talk about Durham today, will we?
Don't talk about Durham. Durham is off limits.
Okay.
So yes, now that's me shut up, Gillian. And
Gillian, tell us about yourself. Gillian, you tell us.
I'm Ryan's mum.
But before that, you were Ryan's mom. I mean, where were you born? Tell us about your life a little bit.
My life. I was born originally in Dundee, so I'm Scottish. So that's
We'll forgive you.
Yeah.
No. Northumberland and Scotland are going to join up very soon, and Newcastle will be the capital.
Yes.
Have you seen that on Facebook?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, we want to kind of like inter.
We are similar, We are
Yes.
poor, we are hardworking, and the South hates us.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, pretty much the same.
That's true in India as well,
So I was born in Dundee, and we moved down here with my family when I was 5. So technically, I shouldn't really have a Scottish accent. I should be broad Geordie.
There's elements of it coming out as you talk about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Where are you?
Yes, it's hiding there. So so my dad worked for Timex, the clock people, Ticket Timex, and they relocated him.
the same old radio sound.
No, this is not an Indian program. We've got some English people in the studio. Who cares about the music? It's the people who are here that matter. So, welcome to the Anand Steve Show. Anand Steve Show.
We're here on Thursday.
Show.
Here every Thursday. Speaking to you on Spice FM.
Bum 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 bum.
It's Britain's Got Talent. I've got the dog. I'm ready to go next year. £250,000. No problem.
Did you not realize we have been sectioned and let out of St. Nicholas 5 minutes ago? So, Steve, who have we got? Well, obviously, we've got good old Mick here.
Good old Mick, Mick the regulars here.
Yes,
and we've got some great guests in the lady that Mick introduced me to a few weeks ago. She's a super mum, according to the Evening Chronicle. And the reason for that is that 4 years ago?
It was about 4.5 years.
4 years ago,
yeah.
She donated a kidney to her son Ryan, who is also here. So we'll have Ryan and his mum Gillian Childs.
Yep.
Ryan Dobinson, is it?
Ryan Dobinson.
Ryan Dobinson.
Yep.
So,
Ryan's
are you
now.
telling me this guy has got a new kidney?
Yes.
He looks quite okay.
Well, that's it.
He doesn't look sickly and pale and got a tube
Is
up
that
his...
what you're supposed to do?
Yes, I thought so. I'm a doctor, I don't know these things. Okay.
Well, I wasn't sure. I've seen
When you said super mom, I thought she had clomiphene and had 32 children or something.
Well, we don't know. I mean,
That's what I thought, Honestly.
She's actually going to be on for the next 32 weeks bringing all the others.
No, good. It's good. And I'm glad you brought the topic of actually donation.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you mentioned it because people don't donate enough.
I've donated my brain.
No one will have it. No one will have it. Did you see its spitting image when was it Maggie Thatcher? No, it was who was the guy, the American president, Ronald Reagan used to take his brain out and leave it at the door. Anyway, so go on, tell us about your guest.
In relation to that, the other angle on is that Ryan is a top athlete in the transplant games going to take place. The UK will run games out at the end of July.
Yeah.
Ryan's in the England team.
See, nothing stops you, does it?
No.
This is the whole point, This is the whole point of this show, that we don't have to be limited by our religion, our medical condition. I mean, I'll play sometimes.
I've got two boys.
Two boys.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew's the oldest one at 24 and Ryan's the youngest one at 19.
Mm.
So after I had Andrew, I went back to work and I worked for the children's charity, Bernardo's.
Wow.
And I've been there ever since.
All good things we love.
Yeah, 23 years I've worked for Bernardo's.
So where were you stationed actually? Where's the building?
I started work originally down North Kenton. There was a family centre in North Kenton. And
near the shopping centre?
Yes,
Mm-hmm,
at the bottom of Hillwood Avenue. And
I used to be a GP in Elmfield Road. I tell you, very posh practice. 18 Elmfield Road was my practice.
Right.
And one day I got really sick of, not the people. I still love my patients or people I got to know.
Yeah.
I still interact with them. I live in the same area.
Yeah.
I used to live on top of my own shop,
Do you?
Yeah, like any other Pakistani corner shop. I live on my premises. And only 4 people knocked my door,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of myths about GPs. If you're nice to people in the day.
Yeah.
Only 4 people rang my bell in 30 years. Honestly. And my 2130970 was my home telephone number.
Right.
And it was on the gate post. How much up your nose can you be?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a music institution called Gurukul.
Right.
And nobody rang me,
Yeah.
I used to feel quite bad, Nobody needs me, thank God for that. But what I'm pointing out is people have a lot of myths. If you are nice to your patients, people are nice to you.
People are nice about, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. And it was a lovely centre. It was a lovely family centre. We worked very hard with the young, like babies, toddlers, right up to fathers groups and youth and community. And
in the years you worked, did people's attitudes change that you noticed? I'm not saying Bernardo's changed the attitude, but you said fathers. At one time, fathers and children just didn't fit.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So it was quite groundbreaking in that time, like doing parenting programs.
For males.
For males, yeah, making males involved with bringing up their children and being involved.
And against the poor Geordie culture of miners and proper men kind of Welsh miners culture.
Yeah, very
that
much
you were
so.
groundbreaking, weren't you?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And then obviously like the teenage pregnancies, which is something that you work hard with young people to try and
who themselves are children.
Yeah.
And they're having
They
children
are,
at the
they
same
are.
time.
Yes, very much so, very young teenage mums. And then from then I progressed.
Did that make you a better mother?
I think it did.
When you
yes.
saw others in such
Yes.
distress,
Yeah.
it made you question your own self, isn't
Yes, oh definitely. Whatever I've learned through working for Bernardo's, I've applied into bringing up my
own
boys,
yes.
and the life that I lead as well. So I've very much implemented that into it as well. They might argue against
because
that.
no, but that's their prerogative. But I mean, wherever you work, you